Well, here we are back to, well, episode 21. I've been away for a short while, and hopefully you enjoy this. I'm practicing doing edits and cuts and all that kind of stuff for this and playing with these things, so let me know how you like this intro. Hope you like the whole video. Talk to you in a little while. I'll let this play through. One more quick note. All of this is being done with one camera. Yep, one camera. Hope you like it. Oh, hey. I've been away for a little while. Back at the hangar now. I had to take about a month and a half off because work got, really busy, and other things got in the way of me working here at the hangar. So, welcome back. Sorry for the delay. Last time I left you guys there, it was me putting bearings into these wheels, and yeah. One thing I've established is that these front wheels, actually let me just lift this camera up a bit, sorry about this, this is live action. Okay, here's the axle for the front wheel, here's the bearing that was in the front wheel, this exact same size, but these are brand new. Now, if I slide this in here, loose, sloppy, very sloppy. Here's the main landing gear. Slightly different bearing. Slide this in here. Not sloppy. So, what does that mean? Well, it means that the bearings that were in the front wheel from day one had the wrong size for this shaft because it's loose. It'll spin in there. It'll spin inside the bearing. That means that these four bearings, because there's two front wheels on the on this system, that means that these bearings were wrong from the beginning, and the scoring that I see on here from the bearings is because they were spinning on the shaft. Yeah. What does that mean in layman's terms? Well, let me open my pocket here. Oh, maybe it's the other pocket. No, it's not. Is it here? Oh, there it is. It's in this bag. That means the bearings that I purchased for the front wheels were slightly wrong, but the ones I purchased for the rear main landing gear were correct for all of them. They came wrong from the factory. I think I'm repeating myself. So I picked up four more bearings, the exact same bearings that go in the rear wheels, will fit in the front wheels, but the shaft won't wiggle and spin. So I need to pop these new bearings out and put these new bearings in that have the right inner diameter for the shaft. Hope that makes sense. So that's what I'm going to do today, and after I do that, I'm going to mount these wheels on the aircraft and put it back on its wheels. So stay tuned. Thanks for following along. Again, apologies for the lengthy period of time without any videos. I know I was going once a week for a long time there, and I had to take a bit of a break. Again, like I say, apologies for that. I will do my best to keep them coming once a week, and which means I got to come down to the hangar, once or twice a week and film, which is okay because it means I get more done on the airplane, which has been neglected for a while. So stay tuned, and if you haven't, hit that down there, that little thumbs up. I know there's no more thumbs down. Not sure if that was a good idea or a bad idea. I know why they did it. I ain't gonna get into that. But subscribe and comment. Some guys comment. A lot of people don't, but just even saying hello. So that'll be, this video will be the replacing of these bearings with the correct size bearings, and then the mounting of the bearings back onto the airplane, and then getting it off those homemade jack stands back on its wheels. And that's the goal for today, to get them back on the get the airplane back on its wheels, so I can start working on some more stuff around it. So thanks for following along, and let's get back to work.
Nope, you're not seeing things. I had to take my jacket off. It was getting warm in the hangar. Okay, now that we are in warp speed, there's me with the center punch. Actually, it's a punch, but it's got a very blunt, large end on it, and gently tapping and removing the new bearings out of the wheels. It only takes a minute or so to do that. So, yeah. Oh, hang on a second. I'm going to be saying something here in a second.
Okay. Well, easy enough to pop them out. Now to put another set in. Okay, now these are the correct bearings. If you recall from the last video, I showed you the bearings for the front and the rear being different again, and just to recap, these are exactly the same as the rear bearings. The front ones were slightly wrong. So, yeah, just going to insert them. Nothing complicated here. Again, this is Loctite 609. This is a retaining compound for bearings so that they don't spin, and it kind of glues them in place, you know. So, yeah, that's all they do. I'm sure this is mostly boring. We'll find out. I'll probably fast forward through a lot of this.
Yep, here comes warp speed again.
Don't know if I have to shake it up. Can't hurt anything. Just that simple. You don't have to use a lot of this. Not at all. It's just a couple little drops here and there. The bearing fits nicely, but I just don't want it to spin. This is chicken soup, you know. Nice and flush. Good.
Now you guys can see here I'm using a hydraulic press to put the bearings in there. You really don't need that. You could tap them in. They're not a very tight fit at all, but I just find that the hydraulic press, it's there, so I'm using it. But it's not a necessity if you're doing this at your own hangar and you don't have access to a press.
And that's how it's done. Okay. Next step, I got to work on that shaft because I don't want this to spin on that knuckle. So drill, tap, fix it in place, and start putting the wheels on.
Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm just cleaning the knuckle that I'm going to be drilling into. It's got grease and grime all over it and what have you. I figured I might as well give it a wipe down with the degreaser and make it nice and clean. So here we go. I'm going to be using the center punch to punch a couple of little spots on there so I can drill into it. I'm using a number, I believe it's a number 25 drill bit because I'm tapping it out to a 1024 threads. So I'll be drilling and then I'll be tapping. So right now we're of course in warp speed because as you can see I'm pushing hard on there and trying to drill through it, and it's fairly thick aluminum. But I do get through, and then I go on to using the tap and die set and tapping that through. So enjoy the warp speed because this actually did take quite a bit of time. I was in the hangar for, this process of putting the new bearings in, the correct ones, on the front wheels, and then drilling and tapping and then remounting the wheels, that took about 3.5 to 4 hours in real time. So there we go. I'm going to stop talking and get back to normal speed.
Well, there's our two holes. Now I'm just going to tap them to accept the set screws. There we go. Now I'm using number 1024 set screws. So I just drilled and tapped this out to a 1024 threads. Now I'm putting 2 set screws in for 2 reasons. One is none. That's from back in my military days. If you got 1 piece of kit, you got none. Besides which, if I put 1 in, I'd have to torque it down a lot more than if I put 2 in. And this is aluminum, and I just don't want to strip the threads out. So they're going to be moderately tight, but just enough to prevent that shaft from spinning. So by putting 2 of them inside there, I can snug them down and not worry about the shaft spinning if I just had 1. I'm also going to be putting anti-seize compound in here. The reason for that is because I've got dissimilar metals. I've got aluminum, and then the set screws are steel. Now they're anodized, but they'll still corrode a little bit, and the anti-seize will help prevent the corrosion from welding it together. So I can remove those set screws at a later date if I want to by putting anti-seize. Now you would think that I would put Loctite in there, but no, I don't want that. I want anti-seize in there, and I'm just going to torque these down so that they hold. So I could be wrong. Maybe I do have to use Loctite. We shall find out. So it's not like the shaft is going to go anywhere because it was designed to work without any lock nuts or any screws locking it down. So if they don't hold, I'm not hurting anything from the original design. So yeah. Anyways, on we go.
And back into the narration portion for me. That's the anti-seize compound. Just stirring it up, make sure that it's all mixed properly, and got the measuring tape out. Making sure that that shaft is absolutely in the center of that knuckle. And there's the set screw, first one going in. Double check with measuring tape. Always double check with measuring tape, and again. Because those set screws are a little tough to get at. Once the wheels are going to be on, they're set back in there. So yeah, you can still get at them, but you don't want to have to. So there we go. And now we go and start putting the wheels on. Yay! And there's that Loctite compound, that bearing lock compound. I'm putting, of course, on the shaft on the inside and on the bearing on the outside, because I want those bearings to kind of glue themselves to that shaft, because I don't want them spinning on the shaft. I want the bearings to do the spinning, not on the shaft. And there we go, back and forth, getting the cotter pins and all that kind of business, and locking the wheels on there. It was not a hard process to do. It was just time consuming. I did notice the tolerances are pretty darn close with that shaft and those cotter pins. There's not the entire hole was sticking through, so you notice I have to tap it down with a hammer on there and get those cotter pins in all the way. But they got in, and everything worked out perfectly, and I was very, very happy with the results. So we're going to get back to normal speed. Oh, no, we're not going to get back to normal speed. I'm just looking ahead on the video over here. We're going to go on to the rear wheels. Like the rear wheels, I guess the main wheels. I've already mounted the one on the port side, or the left-hand side, and now I'm going to be mounting the one on the right-hand side. You'll notice there's these spacers. You put the long one on the outside, and then the small one on the. Well, anyways, you'll see. If you ever have to take these things apart, keep track of where everything goes when you put it back together. Take pictures, take video, something, so that if you have to take these wheels off and put them back on again for whatever reason, you get that accomplished. I had to get a plastic or rubber hammer and gently tap that shaft inwards. I did not put the bearing lock compound on these bearings here. It was a very tight fit, so I just decided not to put them on these main landing gear. You also have to loosen the brake cable, which will allow you to spin the hub on these brakes in order to line up these bolts in order to lock everything together again. You'll see. And then there was one thing that I came across. Those bolts that I pulled out, I never noticed they were not the same length. One's just slightly shorter than the others. Anyways, I'll tell you in a second, right here in the video. I'm going to stop yakking, and you'll hear me talk about those silly bolts.
thing to note, these two bolts, I don't know if this is normal, but one's longer than the other. Put the short one at the top. You may have noticed I pulled the bolts out because this wasn't spinning right, and they're not the same length. The bottom one is longer than the top one. Not sure why, but it is, just a little bit. So the short one goes at the top. Here I'm going to explain this. I had to, of course, loosen the brakes here so that I could spin the hub to find the bolt holes for these two bolts, which means I have to redo the tension on the brakes. Before I tension the brakes, I go to the front of the aircraft where the handle is, and I tighten in the adjusters all the way to put them right to the bottom. That way, I now have the ability to take up slack and adjust them. Because when originally they were, unscrewed out quite a ways, actually. So now these are tensioned up properly again. The wheel spins beautifully. And if I apply the brakes, the wheel stops. And they let go. There we go. Okay, so that's the installation of these wheels. Okay, wheels are back on. Now I've got to remove my homemade jack stands. It's actually very easy. The airplane's very light. It's an airplane. So. It only weighs a couple 100 pounds. Got a lift. She rolls beautifully now. Oh. Honestly, before I changed the bearings, I thought the brakes were sticking. It was, and then it would move and it would make a squeaky noise while that was the bearings spinning on the shaft. So, there we go. It's back on its wheels. I'm happy. All right, let's lift you up. Sorry for a little shakiness here. So that was today. The goal today was to get my airplane back on its wheels. The only, hitch was discovering that the bearings that were originally put in on the front wheels were not the correct size for the shaft. The shaft on the front is exactly the same diameter as the shaft for the main wheels on the floats, but the bearings on the front were about 1/8 thou bigger for the shaft, and they wiggled around a lot. There's a lot of play in there, and you could see that it had been playing around and spinning on the shaft on the front. So if you are going to be doing anything with your puddle jumper floats, when you do your annual inspections and you check the bearings, check to see whether they are the right bearings, because mine weren't. And for 20 bucks for all 4 bearings, it's a cheap thing to replace and to get the right size. So yeah, and if your shaft is really worn down, like it's been spinning for a while, get a new one. I pinned mine, as you saw, and to stop it from rotating in that knuckle. And now that I've got the right size bearings on there, the shaft showed some scoring, but when I put my chronometer on there, it was less than 1 thou in some places. It was so close that when I put the shaft onto the wheel, it held, but I still used that bearing retaining compound from Loctite, and that will cure and harden and hold them in place so that there's no slippage. So that's it. That's the bearings for today. Thanks a lot for watching, well, keep your stick on the ice. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave a comment, like and subscribe, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.